Good afternoon, everybody. Silver Dragon here today with a new review for Ni no Kunai, Wrath of the White Witch, a lovely JRPG made by Level 5 with some influences from Studio Ghibli, who also did the animations similar to the movies they were famous for in that sense, which I personally love to an extreme amount. Anyway, I'm going to be doing just a background, just a picture background for now to explain the story, as it is quite complex, and I will go into a little detail because it is so complex in a sense. There's so many things that happen in the beginning, and it's hard to explain it without actually you just going through and watching it yourselves. But I will do as much as I can, explain as much as I can. So if you don't want any spoilers for it, please do skip ahead. To say the least, it is awesome. It is great, but I'm going to go into more details now, so I will put a timer in to skip ahead to the correct point. Anyway, the story basically starts out where your main character, Oliver, who lives in Motorville, a modern, vehicle-eccentric town, is prophesized by the White Witch, she's evil, to save the world. And in an attempt to avert that, she basically makes the car that he sneaks out to test drive, that his friend made, uh, fail, so that he gets dropped into a river. Another force basically alerts his mother to his peril, and she arrives there in time to dive in and save him, which results in Oliver's survival, but unfortunately her death. It's quite a sad moment. There were many man tears that were shed, I'm sure. But anywho, a little while after that, Oliver ends up in his room crying on a doll that his mother gave him. Which turns out to be the cursed High Lord of the Fairies, Drippy, who was cursed by the evil wizard Shadar, minion of the White Witch from another world. There's also a dark djinn involved, or a genie, but I'm not even going to go there right now because that's just adding too much complication onto it. Anyway, this leads to Oliver learning of the alternative world, where basically everyone has a soul double in this world, and he's trying to convince him because Oliver, because he was able to break the curse on him, is the pure one, I guess you could say, or the pure-hearted one, I guess is what he says pretty much. And he has the ability to become a wizard and basically save his world, attempt to save his world. And he gets motivated to go there because he learns that his mother, who is the soul double of his mother, I should say, has been captured, who is a sage in the other world, has been captured and ensorcelled by Shadar, and then leads the chance of basically if he manages to go there and save her, it might possibly restore or resurrect his mother. So that basically is what leads him to go to the other world. Shadar himself has also inflicted people in the world with an infliction called broken heartedness or heartbroken, which your character needs to fix. But I will go into more detail that and or more details into that in the gameplay section. Anyway, as it is probably one of the longest explanations I've done in a while for the story, I will move on from there. And get over to the actual gameplay. Although I should also say that in order to get to the alternate world, he ends up going around your house. Why it was hidden in your house, I don't know. But apparently he found some wizard codex hidden in your fireplace, hidden in Oliver's fireplace, which is a little odd. But anyway, I digress. Moving on to the actual gameplay and some actual video. All right. Alright then, there are many actual aspects to the gameplay of Ni no Kunai. To start out, you travel around the world in a third-person-esque kind of Final Fantasy style, same kind of thing, where you see enemies in the background running around, and they'll just travel around back and forth and all over the place in a certain area. And if they see you, they'll attack you, and you can also walk up behind them and attack them, which will cause you to move into an encounter stage, which you go into like a little battle arena. Once you do so, you are able to move around the battlefield yourself. For those that have played Final Fantasy 12 style, you're able to just move around as much as you want until you take an action such as attacking, defending, casting a spell, using a provision, so on. In which case, that locks you into the mode, basically. Like you're attacking, it will lock you into the attack mode until your attacks are completed. Although you can cancel it, it will put a cooldown on your attack and such as you're not doing, or if you cancel it for the remainder of the time, and so on and so forth. As things progress, when things first start out, you are only yourself. You can only attack yourself, cast the spells yourself, such as Fireball and so on and so forth. So you basically have to fight everything yourself. But eventually, as you go along after your first while, you will acquire your first familiar, which is basically the solid, or the what's it called, the material form of your heart, I guess. Which is basically a kind of a warrior-esque thing. It's kind of cool. Has a cape. It's pretty awesome. And basically, your familiar can battle with you, or battle for you, I should say, for a limited time. There is a timer gauge on their icon that will slowly go down. If it gets all the way down, they will be desummoned, and you'll have to wait quite a bit longer for them to be able to resummon. So it's better just to swap them out. So basically, you have to wait completely for it to recharge. You will not be able to summon them. So it's better just to recall them as soon as it starts counting down, like 5, 4, 3. Okay, recall kind of thing. I sometimes like push it at 1 and recall them just then. But yeah, basically you can only have one person out at a time, either yourself or your familiar, and you both have a shared health and mana pool. So if he takes damage, you're taking damage. Uh, all right, you can actively switch between them, and so on and so forth. And there are the typical JRPG items in order to boost yourself and your familiar weapons, armors, so on and so forth. As well as you can, that will boost your stats. As well as you can give your familiar certain treats, feed them up to a certain limit, and they'll have little familiarity hearts that'll go up as you feed them more stuff. Once you get to a certain point and that familiarity increases, you'll be able to feed them more things and so on and so forth. So you really have to balance that out at times. That's another way to get them some additional stats as you move along. Eventually, your familiars will get into a state where they are able to evolve if given a special treat. Your familiars are also able to use certain skills that they will gain as they level up in battle and such. And later on, you can swap them out depending on how many slots they are given, which they will get over time. Later on in your adventures, you are given the ability to tame new familiars from the creatures you are fighting. They will gain a special state, which hopefully I should be showing in the background at this point, which you will need a separate character that you acquire later to actually tame at that point. They are basically then able to serenade. You have to do like a good amount of damage. There's a specific chance that you will have them knock them down and be able to tame them. And they have to serenade them. They have a timer, of course, that goes down. If that goes down, they'll just escape. Which leads to eventually a Pokemon-esque style, gotta catch 'em all, where you're just running around trying to catch all sorts of critters and find out what kind of special abilities they have, level them up over time, evolve them, and all that. Yeah, so it basically gets into a Pokemon kind of thing at that point. So yeah, which isn't too bad considering. You get some really nice critters at times. And you can also name them as well once you acquire them to give them a special flair if you wish. But anyway, you can have 3 active familiars per person, as well as 3 benched ones at that point. And you are able to store up to 400 of them via a ranch guy, which is basically, when I first saw these little like I guess sewer drain kind of style things right next to the save points, I thought that they would be like a warp tube kind of thing, where you'd be able to warp around the map and you didn't have to walk around anymore. Turns out they're actually used, a little critter pops out of there, and is actually where you give your familiars to, and you can store 400 of them at the familiar ranch. You can find it at most save points and inns and such. You will in your adventures as well come across people that have been inflicted with a state called, well, as I said before, in the story, heartbrokenness or brokenheartedness, as it were. This state can vary between several different types. Courage, oh damn, there's a couple of them. But the first one you basically find, the basics of it is they're missing a piece of their heart, and you need to find someone that has that piece. The first being that you encounter, enthusiasm. The guard at the gate is very unenthusiastic. He's the one in charge of opening the gate, and you need to find a way to cure it, otherwise you can't get into town. So you basically have to find somebody that has excessive amounts of whatever it is the other person is missing, and ask to borrow it. These people are shown on the minimap by a glowing green dot. You can also identify them when your locket starts glowing, that you eventually acquire for that purpose. And then you have to take a piece of their heart and then give it to the other person, and that basically snaps them out of it, and they can get back to work and such. You cannot, however, take the same piece of heart from the same person more than once. So that leads to a kind of make sure you have everything stored before you leave a place, otherwise you're going to be in trouble. There was one occasion where I even had to go all the way back to a town to acquire another piece of heart. But anyway, when you're in town, you are able to acquire two different types of quests other than your main quest. One of which is errands, where people will add to the board you can find in Swift Solutions. They can also be identified on the minimap by the glowing blue dots. You basically have to talk to them regardless. The board will just tell you, oh hey, you can go talk to these people here, basically. So it's not too important. It's better just to look around. You only go there if you really want to find out, is there something I missed, or is there something new that popped up, and then you can walk around town and look for the guy. But anyway, if you solve their problems, whether it be a broken hardness or some other such thing, a collection or mission, if they vary a lot. They vary quite a bit. You will gain items, gold, as well as merit stamps, which will fill a 10-slot good deed card, of which there are marked multiple. So if you get 2 left remaining, you get 4 stamps, it will move on to the next card, and so on and so forth. As you fill them up, you can turn them in at Swift Solutions for some really nice rewards, such as the ability for more heal orbs to pop up in combat, the ability to run faster in the open world, and one of my favorites, I have to say, more easily back attack enemies to get an advantage in battle. The other type of quest you can take on are the bounty quests, in which you need to go out into the world and attack specific special enemies that are then spawned. These guys are just on the map, and you can locate them on the minimap by the glowing blue dots, and just walk up to them, hit A on the exclamation mark, and fight. They're quite actually powerful at times. There have been a few I've had to fight that have been very difficult to kill, I'd have to say. Anyway, later on in the game, you also acquire an interesting object that I won't spoil too many details about, as it is quite intriguing, that allows you to use alchemy, which basically lets you transmute ingredients into very interesting and shiny objects with many uses. There's also a really interesting storybook. Basically, your spell book, the Wizard's Companion that you acquire, allows you to, there's a lot of really good stories in there you can read, so there's just so much content to the game, and there's just a lot in it, gameplay wise, and just even there to intrigue you, really. Moving on to the audio now. For now, I'll leave that as enough gameplay for the moment. Moving on to the audio in Ni no Kunai. It's very well done, I have to say. I have thoroughly enjoyed a lot of the background music and such that was composed by, and please do forgive me if I mispronounce this, as I am terrible at pronouncing names. Joe Hisaishi, I think it is, or yeah, I believe that's correct. I will also add it in as text, as it is probably totally butchered the last name. Anyway, the voices of the characters are also quite well done, I have to say. Drippy, High Lord of the Fairy, or High Lord of the Fairies, as it were, being one of my favorites, I'd have to say. At first, he was a bit of a rude bugger, as it were, being as he has an English accent, tololol. But anyway, I basically wanted to, kick him football style for a while there, but eventually he grew on me, and I kind of loved it at times. But anyway, I'd have to say Ni no Kunai is by far one of the best JRPGs I've played in a very long time. It might have to do with my love, of course, of all things Studio Ghibli, hugs, in that sense. But anyway, it is a game that I'd say that is well over 60 to 100 hours, no doubt in that. I have not even, I played for many hours, like, at least about a good 20, 30 hours, I would say right now, bare minimum. And I'm not even close to finishing that thing. And it's, yeah, I'm nowhere near to give an accurate shot, but I definitely believe that Ni no Kunai, Wrath of the White Witch, deserves a definite 10 out of 10. It is an amazing game. I have thoroughly enjoyed it, and I will keep on playing it until I beat it. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed. Thank you very much for watching this review. Definitely check out the game. It is great. I have enjoyed it. For the PS3, of course. PS3 exclusive in that sense. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Have a good one, and hopefully I'll see you all another time.